Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a classic story about a man whose faith is so absolute, he does something pretty remarkable. He writes a letter to God. But as you'll see, it's the answer he gets that reveals a really powerful and kind of ironic human truth.
It's a powerful question, isn't it? And it's the starting point for a classic story by G.L. Fuentes. It's a tale that really makes you wonder about a fundamental question. What, or maybe who, should we really put our faith in? All right, so let's jump right in and meet our main character, a farmer named Lencho. For this guy, his entire world is his field of corn, and pretty much his only hope in life is a good harvest. Lencho lives in the only house in the whole valley, just sitting there on a low hill. The story calls him an ox of a man, which tells you everything about his deep connection to the land. He knows his fields inside and out, and his whole life, his whole future, is wrapped up in that one crop. So he spends the whole morning just staring at the sky. And you know what? He's right. These huge mountains of clouds start rolling in, and then the first big drops begin to fall. His hope just skyrockets. He even goes outside just for the sheer pleasure of feeling that rain on his skin. Now, this is a super important look into how Lencho sees the world. He doesn't just see rain, he sees new coins. For him, this blessing from nature is directly, literally tied to money. The big drops are worth 10 cents, the little ones are worth 5. It's a very real, very tangible kind of faith. But you know how these stories go. Just as quickly as all that hope arrived, it gets completely, and I mean completely, shattered by a sudden, violent turn in the weather. What started out as this amazing blessing flips into a devastating curse. For a solid hour, huge hailstones just hammer the house, the garden, and the entire cornfield. The whole field turns white, like it's covered in salt. I mean, the contrast here is just brutal. The field that was his great hope is now totally destroyed. There's not a single leaf left on the trees. His new coins have just vanished, and now his family is staring starvation right in the face. But here's the thing about Lencho. Even after all this, when it seems like everything is lost, he isn't completely broken. He's got one last resort, this single, unwavering hope. He believes God's eyes see everything, and so he decides to do something truly extraordinary. And this extraordinary act takes us to the local post office, where Lencho's unique solution creates a very, very human problem for the people who work there. So get this is the crucial point. His faith is so absolute, he doesn't just, pray. He takes direct, practical action. He writes a letter, he asks for a very specific amount, 100 pesos, and then he just mails it off, fully expecting a response. Well, as you can imagine, a letter addressed to God causes a bit of a stir. The postman, who's never seen an address like that in his entire career, just starts laughing his head off. His boss, the postmaster, a friendly, kind of hefty guy, he starts laughing too. But then, his amusement pretty quickly turns into admiration. The postmaster he's genuinely moved. He's so struck by the power of this man's belief that he decides he absolutely cannot let this incredible faith be shaken. He's got to do something about it. He realizes pretty quick that it's going to take more than just good wishes to answer this letter. So he comes up with a plan, an act of charity. He asks his employees to chip in, he gives a part of his own salary, and he even gets some friends to contribute. And this is where we get to the story's powerful and deeply ironic ending, where a really good deed leads to a complete and total misunderstanding. But here's the catch. Even with all his effort, it's impossible for the postmaster to collect the full 100 pesos Lencho asked for. He only manages to scrape together a little more than half, 70 pesos. It's a genuinely generous act, for sure, but it's not the full amount. So he puts the 70 pesos in an envelope, addresses it to Lencho, and inside the letter has just a single word signed as the sender, God. And you can just picture him, right, watching from his office, feeling that quiet satisfaction of a man who's just done a really good thing. So when Lencho gets the letter, is he surprised? Not even a little bit. That's how confident he was. But the second he counts the money, that certainty just curdles into anger. Because in his mind, God couldn't possibly make a mistake, and he definitely wouldn't have denied his request. So there has to be another explanation.
Convinced that something is wrong, Lencho marches right back to the counter, asks for paper and ink, and starts writing another letter. All the while, the postmaster and his employees are eagerly watching, just waiting to see his reaction of gratitude. And here it is, the central, biting irony of the entire story. Lencho writes back to God, says thanks for the 70 pesos, but asks for the rest. And he adds one crucial instruction: don't send it through the mail. Why? Because the post office employees are, in his exact words, a bunch of crooks who must have stolen the missing 30 pesos. In the end, Lencho's faith in God was so powerful, so absolute, that it made him completely blind to the very real kindness of the human beings right in front of him. The story doesn't really give us an easy answer. It just leaves us with that same deep question we started with. Where should we place our faith? In a higher power, or in the simple, flawed, but sometimes genuine goodness of other people? Definitely something to think about.